I got off just a little bit. Oh, excuse me. Um, yeah. Like somebody flying over me or something. I see a shadow. If I can find you. Yeah. TBM, a TBM 930. Getting it, MF2 795 MIF. Somebody joined us there in a TBN 930. Like everybody's catching up, gonna buzz me. Repo Boys, went in the 172. I couldn't keep that 930 down to less than 200. I don't know how he does it. He's buzzing me. I love it. Well, I don't know if y'all can hear me or if you're watching the feed, but thanks for joining. Uh,
Airbus helicopter, Yankee Papa Echo contact Ankara Center on 128.1. Good day.
128.1 Airbus helicopters, Yankee Papa Echo. Ankara Center, Airbus helicopters Delta. Hotel Yankee Papa Echo 3,000 feet.
Airbus helicopters Delta. Hotel Yankee Papa Echo Ankara Center altimeter 29.9 continue as planned.
Pretty green TBN 950 or 930. I think that's correct. Slow down a little too slow, maybe. Earnestly, you're not having trouble staying slow, are you?
Yeah, I just keep passing you, coming back around, and then I'm a mile behind again.
I'm sorry. I think I slowed down a little too slow. I was below 120. I'm trying to keep it up there. Keep getting up in the red.
It's all part of the fun.
Right.
Find your speed, get some trim on, climb, 2,000 feet, and then slow down and fall again.
Well, the helicopter doesn't really trim. There's a couple of settings we can do that help, but it's more. They call it trim beep, and you got to keep on it. I get it under control one day. There we go.
I used to get a big kick out of running the mission flights out of FSX
Right.
with the copter.
Uh-huh.
landing on oil rigs and people's buildings.
Yeah, I've got all the oil rigs off of Alaska and a couple off of the UK, off England. Readjust my heading here. I'm actually way off. I've really enjoyed the helicopters. They have done a real good job on this 145. It's absolutely superb. Bugs on the windshield and everything.
Oh, that's the most important part.
That's right. Gotta have some realism.
I always turn up my wear and tear settings to 100.
Well, I've just got a little i7 that I didn't max out the RAM. That's the next step. Try to build the RAM up a little more so I do more things at one time. Now I'm pushing the limits. Looks like you set the maximum speed up a little bit on this. It's almost, well, that's about right, about 148. Try to keep it below 140. And I tend to max out on the overspeed, going faster than that. At the first waypoint in just over 5 miles. Because I've been out for almost 2 weeks, I didn't really have a chance to research this to see if there was any. I know we come up on one or two POIs somewhere along this, I noticed. But other than that, I really don't have anything to say about it. I don't know where we are, really. You know where we are?
Not offhand.
We're not passing over your hometown or anything,
No, not
right?
really.
Not yet. We'll get there. We'll get there. I'm not sure. I've looked this over, and like I said, I started with one that was only 20,000. We've joined the 70,000. We've got in joining this one. I At this point we've got about 3,000 miles in the tour done, but that's not counting the 70,000. Really, the first leg of the 70,000. We'll end up back here sometime next year. About 350 flights is what I'm guesstimating. Santa Lurfa, I probably can't even pronounce it right. And I don't even see an airstrip. It says there's an airstrip down here. Oh, there is. Okay. It looks like a highway. Airport markers way off of it.
Airbus helicopters, Yankee Papa Echo contact approach on 118.85. Good day.
118.85 for Airbus helicopters Yankee Papa Echo. Approach Airbus helicopters Delta, Hotel Yankee Papa Echo 1,800 feet.
Airbus helicopters Delta, Hotel Yankee Papa Echo approach altimeter 29.9 continue as planned.
I wonder if we didn't just move into new territory. Uh, I can figure out where we are. I think we've crossed into Turkey. I should say back into Turkey. We were in Turkey last 2 weeks ago. The next airport waypoint looks like it's about 11,000 feet. I think the mountain is 10,000. Somewhere I've lost my bearing or something. Try and get some air elevation here. I didn't get in until about 6 o'clock last night. And pretty wore out, so I didn't. I took a real quick look at the new documentation on upgraded 145, but I didn't get a chance to really look at it good. And it's got some bells that are going off when I get in my overspeed that I'm not sure exactly what they mean. But I was reading on the uh, discussion channel for the 145. At least one new user or user of the new aircraft said something about getting into a certain point and it just fell out of the sky. And Dave said yes, he's gotten his mods, his modifications done where it actually replicates the real world failures if you do the overspeeds too long. The manual says 2.5 seconds in the red. And major failures happen.
That's dancing on a razor's edge.
Well, you can run the you can run the yellow for like 2.8. Yeah, I got yellow. You can run in the yellow for like 2.5 minutes before you do serious damage. But if you run in the red for more than like 2.5 seconds, you end up with some failures. So to keep you on your toes, have I just lost a bunch of tags, or did we actually lose a bunch of people back there?
Lean dropped out of Discord.
I saw that. Rich was behind us. Do you see any tags over there with you? Because I only see two. Yours are the
Test.
test. Those are the only two you see.
Seems to be just the three of us now.
Someone named Jasmine Dinoman came into the Twitch channel and said he was going to look on the calendar. I sent him posted a link for the calendars to get the flight plan, but I didn't see him join us. Too slow for him, I guess. I'm down to almost 100 knots trying to climb. So if you need to pass me or whatever, that's fine. A lot of guys on these feeds, it seems like they try to stay behind the streamer. For whatever reason, I don't know. I do it too, just because I don't want to be the showboat in the front of the stream. I don't know if that's a normal protocol, or Joel hasn't ever said anything about it. He just goes on. So I don't know. Went from 10 of us, I think I counted 11 at 1.3. Only one watching Twitch streams. A rather boring flight, I guess. And crossing through 7,000. Peak of this mountain looks like 7,036. Do you use a little nav map?
Yeah, I'm taking a look at it now.
Very useful.
Definitely.
The developers of some of these add-ons have really done a fine job with new sim. I'm real impressed. I can't wait further down the line. I expect it to really be full featured. If the Sobo ever gets their act together with the some of the little quirks like the cars flying underneath the bridges and such, FSX in its longevity, by the time it was all said and done, was really pretty superb. If you can get past the difference in the scenery, magnificence of the 2020 scenery is just amazing. Amazes me to be able to watch the leaves and the grass blow.
Yeah. Actually, to tell you the truth, I think the cars that drive underneath the bridges are great right now because it tells me I can fly under the bridges.
I watch for that also. Gives me a clue. Some of them you can, and some of them you can't. The ones you can't get under aren't always very obvious. Say it's a real we say disturbing when you fly into a wall, not expecting.
Airbus helicopters, Yankee Papa Echo contact Anchorage Center on 128.1. Good day.
128.1 for
Names
Airbus
are flipping in
helicopters,
and out.
Yankee Papa
Major
Echo.
Sirius just came back.
Yeah, I see
Anchorage
that.
Center,
I
Airbus
see that.
helicopters Delta, Hotel Yankee Papa Echo 8,100 feet.
Airbus
So
helicopters,
maybe we didn't lose as
Hotel
many
Yankee
as I
Papa
thought
Echo
we
1
had.
center altimeter 29.9 to continue as planned.
Yeah, your tags disappeared on me. So maybe we're better off than I thought. I like to see the repeat names, though. It's a real joy to see um, regulars like yourself that join all that they can. I appreciate it. I'm not really trying to build a following or anything, but it's a lot makes the flights a lot more enjoyable when I can see people are enjoying them with me.
It's always fun for me. I was on a flight yesterday in Utah, and there were a bunch of arches, stone arches that we were flying under.
Uh-huh. Oh, uh, the one that comes up in the splash screens. Is that where you were?
Yeah, that was one of them.
Yeah, we flew that a couple of weeks ago. That was a lot of fun to try to fly. There was one you had to fly under and then get way high uh, in order to miss the rock formation in front of you. That was a challenge. That, that was one of Joel's flights he did. I'm hoping we run into some more interesting scenery that we can cut some of these down. I feel like I'm flying higher than I prefer to, just because I don't know the terrain. Some of these, so I feel like I'm missing some of the things we could be doing. Cut the flight times down where I can. This didn't. I didn't see anything of interest really, so I went ahead and made a 2.5 hour flight out of it. As always, if you run low on fuel or want to stop and stretch your legs at any of these airports, let me know and we'll drop down. I need to be on the next flight with Joel about 4:30, so plenty of time. I feel like a 2 hour flight is usually the best way to keep people interested. But when we're just flying high like this, 3 hour flight is not too bad. Anything down there to see?
Lots of what looks like farmland.
Like a solar farm over here to the right. This test Jess. That could be Jasmine. And if that's if that's correct, he is a she. So better keep my commentary with ease down. Looks like if that's her, joined us as a like an inch. Really swollen. I'm lower my attitude. It's
Somehow I ended up way in front of you.
yes, test jet is flying around. I've slowed back. I'm trying to get my attitude back down, so maybe I pick up some speed. Like Lima Tango Charlie Charlie. Not sure what that is. I can't pronounce it. DR DR Backer. Dyer Backer. Something like that.
I would guess Diyarbakir.
Darbakir? That's how you pronounce it.
I would imagine that's pretty close.
Probably a lot closer than how I pronounce it. Darbakir. That sounds right. Thank you.
Just another guess.
Well, it never fails. I learned something about every time I fly with any of you guys. Yeah, I love it. I'd say that, like you said, that's probably a lot closer than my guess. Sometimes we have folks that are flying with us that are from these areas or have been to the areas, have knowledge. Only been out of the states one time, and I was a very young lad, about 12 years old. Went to the Bahamas on a cruise ship. Cruise ships back then weren't like they are these days. We didn't have luxury swimming pools.
Yeah, they're all kid friendly today.
Yeah, they are. So is that Junkers a free aircraft? Did I get that
Uh,
right?
Pretty sure it's about $15 USD.
Oh, it is. It is pay. Okay. I know it just came out. Saw that much. I didn't really see. I see in the marketplace there's a exclamation point. So I'm guessing that's probably because I knew it came out with this last release. Saw a um, bad gamer. I think it might have been Overkill. Uh, did a review on it, rather favorable. I'm still impressed with the helicopters. They've done a real good job on these.
The praise and the complaints are both, from what I heard, the praise and the complaints are both about the amount of lift the thing has for its size, it's definitely an STOL.
Right.
Airbus helicopters, Yankee Papa Echo contact the Yarbach Air approach on 122.1. Good day.
122.1.
122.1 Airbus helicopters, Yankee Papa Echo. Diyarbakir approach Airbus helicopters Delta, Hotel Yankee Papa Echo 9,300 feet.
Airbus helicopters Delta, Hotel Yankee Papa Echo to Yarbach Air approach altimeter 29.9 continue as planned.
Oh, so looks like the next peak, going to be about 8,000. 8,600. Quite a ways up, though. The pop out, I call it an iPad, on the helicopter has new features. The spotlight looks like it's available on the iPad now, as well as an ability to change the barometric units. Charts, a new feature. Not sure how to operate the charts yet. Look through the new manual Dave has created. So learn more about how to fly this wonderful addition to the community. Seems that there's a new helicopter available also. I forget which. 60 UA 60, is that it? It'd be a Huey, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll have to look and see what that is all about. I know Rotor Sim Pilot was coming out with two. The R44 is out, and I think I'm going to release the. I think he's working on a 125 or something like that. His next free release. Did a real good job with that R44.
I recently got an email that listed all of the non-base game planes and helicopters since 2020 came out.
Did you?
Yeah.
Do you have a text? Was there like a text file attachment to that?
No, it was a regular email with a whole bunch of links to everybody's different.
Where did you get that from?
Not sure. I'll have to look back at it.
Like I say, I've been out for about almost 2 weeks, 13 days. It looked like since the last flight, which I'm sorry I had to take off, but that's the last of those. Till middle of next year, first of next year. I'll have time to look through that, see an email to that effect. Um, one of the Discord uh, channels, I'll look through here real quick. And, Kevy Kev, PPA's MSFS Hangout. He produces a list like that. I've been privileged to add and any add extras that I know about, giving me access to make changes to that. I haven't done a whole lot of editing. If you have a list like that, I'd be very interested to have you send that to my DM if you think about it or get the chance. Always interested in stuff like that.
No problem.
If that came from a Discord channel, just drop a link to that server. Go have a look at that. Try to subscribe to all of them I can. A lot of good information in there. I don't do a whole lot of fixed wings anymore. Once in a while, like you say, with those challenges, why I try to build my friends list in the sim. Um, I'm gonna, not right now, but before we land, I'll try and get your tag and send you a friend request. I like to try to beat when I in those challenges. Smitty was one. He really had me going. Every time I'd catch his score, he'd top mine, and I finally got up. I think I got 16 million points on one of those. It took so many tries. Oh, worked on that for a long time. I finally came into a flight that he was in. I said, Smitty, I finally beat your score. That's what makes those challenges fun for me. Knowing people that I fly with are better pilots than I am. I don't call myself an aviator because anymore I do this for fun. I got the bug when I was 16. My parents privileged me with a flight school. I went to FIT through Florida Air Academy in Melbourne, Florida. Studied there for about 4 years.
Nice.
Got my pilot's license when I was 16, and that really gave me the bug. Why I hung in there with Microsoft Flight Simulator for so long. I enjoyed flying. Wish I had kept up with my aeronautical training.
I never had the chance of taking any real training, but I've been flying flight simulators since 1985.
You got a couple of years on me then. I started about 89.
That was still back when it was wireframe.
Yes, it was still polygons. We'd never dreamed of flying in an environment like this.
Right? Eight whole colors.
Yes. Land between the lines and very carefully set your altimeters and watch very closely so you crash into the ground when you landed.
Back then, I was lucky enough to have expanded memory, a whole megabit.
A whole megabit, yes. Those days taught me quite a bit. I got my start in programming with QBasic.
Yeah, me too.
Back in the DOS days. What fun we had.
Absolutely.
I programmed my first bot for a IRC channel. These days, the kids don't even know what IRC was.
Right?
Never heard.
The days of bulletin boards are gone.
Yes, yes. You barely find anything. They call it a whiteboard these days. I get so aggravated with Microsoft when you have to ask a question or get some tech support. They send you to their knowledge base.
Please, no. It's so much easier going to YouTube now.
Yeah, right? Get better information.
And usually a dozen variations.
I had a little glitch with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 early, right after SU4, I think. Might have been SU5, but I came into the sim, and you know how the tags come and go. That's normal, but I came in one morning after, and I didn't realize it, but the night before I had accepted an update to Microsoft Xbox Console Companion, and I didn't realize, you know, I took the update, you know, because you try to keep everything up to date. And I took the update, and the next morning I came in and I could see all of my friends. I could see them online in the map. So I tried to spawn in on one of my buddies, and I'm right next to him. You know, he's just describing on Discord exactly where he is, and I know exactly where he is. I'm looking at the house that he's uh, landed next to, and I'm landed right where he says he is, and I couldn't see him. He couldn't see me. I couldn't see his tag even. Couldn't see mine. I fought with that for about 24 hours, and it was one of my first streams I had like the next day. You know, had people anticipating going to join us. I take these things pretty seriously. I don't like to advertise that I'm going to be somewhere, you know, join me, you know, and not be there. Oh man, I was having a fit. My sim was broken. I couldn't find anybody. I tried to call Microsoft, and they said it was right after Xbox. They had released the Xbox, and they said flat out, they told me that they no longer supported telephone support for PCs, and that I had to go to the knowledge base and look through the knowledge base for my answer. And if that failed, then I could uh, open a ticket. And I'm thinking, oh, great. You know, I got less than 24 hours before I'm supposed to fly, and people expecting me on a stream and all of that. And I wrote back to Microsoft. I said, man, this is I've got expectations. You know, paid for the sim, and it's broken. How do I fix it? Well, long story short, we fought with it for almost 24 hours. And about 4 hours from having to scrub the flight for that day. And one of the guys that I fly with all the time, well, we've tried, I mean, we're trying everything. All of my settings are right. The update didn't change the uh, multiplayer settings or anything. That's what I thought it was, but it wasn't that. Tried everything. He said, well, let's try this. You know how they got the group you up where you have your friends list, and next to it you've got groups, and you can open a private group and invite people in it. He says, I opened a group. He says, come and join this group. So I joined the group, and as soon as I entered the room, I saw everybody. Everybody was there all of a sudden. It was that simple. We had fought with it for 24 hours, and I'm on my edge. I mean, just the last straw. Microsoft hasn't emailed me back. And I go into this room, and it's fixed miraculously in one fell swoop.
Going to 128
Everybody's
Airbus helicopters
everybody's live. I see everybody. Everybody sees me. I get out of the group, and everybody still sees me. About 2 hours before the flight, and I'm setting up, and Microsoft emails me back. And I get this email, and they got 12 steps. They want me to uninstall everything, write down all, even Windows, reinstall. And I've already fixed the problem, simple fix. But one of their 12 steps was to uninstall the companion, console companion, Xbox console companion, and reinstall it. So it dawned on me at that point, that's what happened. I took that update and it broke the sim because they have a conflict between the Xbox console, and they had just released Xbox, the Xbox release. So they knew what the problem was, how to fix it, but they didn't know what was causing the problem. That was obvious by their 12 steps. And it has something to do with the groups because entering the group fixed everything. It was wild. I emailed them back and a not so complimentary email.
I can imagine.
I told them I was not happy that they obviously knew what caused the problem or what fixed the problem, but had no idea what caused it. I'm not going to tell them how I fixed it. Because we've literally become their beta testers for the sim.
That happens with every game.
Yes, I know. I mean, there's always quirks that they can't predict until tens of thousands of users come in and one has a different configuration. I mean, I know how that works. I was a PHP programmer for a short time. So I know how these things, one byte of code that was not quite right causes. And I sound like I'm complaining, and I'm not. The sim is fantastic. They've done things, like I said, that we never dreamed of. I've heard guys complain about the scenery not being up to par, and they promised us this and promised us that. Look what we've got stuck with. Like, okay, so go back to FSX. Better yet, why don't you try FS9?
God, no.
Hey, I've got about 300 aircraft that were pretty decent aircraft for FS9 combat sim. A staunch user of Microsoft flight simulators. Even the space simulator that they gave up on years ago. I'm not sorry that they took the sim back up. They said they weren't going to. I'm not at all unhappy. I look forward to the next 5 to 10 years. What can be done with phases? I I see the future out of it. Magnificent things can be accomplished. Maybe trying to keep a reasonable speed, but
Yeah, I've fallen behind. I did a touch and go down at the last airport,
there you go.
so I'm catching up now. I'm up to 8,500 feet, so I'm gonna level it out and haul.
Well, it looks like the next airfield, 19. I'm at 19 miles, a little over 19 miles from it. This thing used showing one at 140, 138 miles. And I see that I am moving and I'm running 10 knots, but my POI indicators are not changing. It still shows 19.44 nautical miles next airport. It's not changing.
My POI is showing 2679, and the distance to the next GPS waypoint is 143 miles,
Oh, yeah,
and there's nothing in front of us.
it just changed. You say it is directly in front of us, though, right? That's what I see. They have to get up, go up. The ground is steadily coming closer. We had an indicator at one point that would come up and tell me when I got 500 feet or less AGL. I'm wondering if that's coming up. I see it early. I don't think I'm high enough next ridge. Only hope. Cass must have done a touch and go back there with you.
Yeah, the junker. I
Yeah.
came in behind him, or her.
Well, the name on Twitch was Jasmine, and I clicked on it and went to her profile. I don't know if that's her in the test JE or not. The only hint is the J. So I don't know.
Yeah, could be.
I'm actually kind of afraid to start pushing buttons because I'm not sure what works and what doesn't. I'm mousing over and seeing a lot of things I can push. But I don't want to do it now because I'm afraid it'll do something I don't want done. I'm gonna have to read that manual. Something called FADEC Emer. I'm guessing that's FADEC emergency switch. Yeah, I'm right at 8,000 feet, and it's going to be close getting over this. with a bit of lightning. Heat lightning. Love the sunset colors they produce in this sim, though. Pink hues.
Yeah, I'm putting my nickels and dimes together to get a 4K monitor.
I've got a 4K monitor, uh, but I can't run it on 4K. The resolution just cuts my frame rates too low. I'm running it about 48. I forget. It's 30, 36 something by 26 something, I think it is. Get exactly. Um, I tried running it 4K. I can't get the frame rates out of it. Another reason I want to upgrade the RAM. I think if I double the RAM, I should be able to run it 4K.
Do you have 16 or 32?
16 on board and 6 on the graphics.
The downside of this program is you have to really worry about your CPU as well as your video card.
Well, I run Afterburner, and I've got it overclocked slightly, but I'm also running the Xbox game bar, and I monitor my because the Xbox game bar, as opposed to developer mode, where you can watch your frame rate in developer mode, it's got that great big long list of everything, and it gets in the way. It when you take a screenshot, it shows up in the screenshot. It's obtrusive. I found the Xbox game bar monitor. You can set the transparency so that it only has the numbers. I can watch the GPU, the CPU, the VRAM, the RAM, and the frame rates. And when I take a screenshot, it doesn't show up in the screenshot. But I said all that because my CPUs, I'm only using 25 to 36% of the CPU, and I'm up 93% of the GPU. and the VRAM is
Going to
about 93%
119.775
also.
Airbus helicopters, Yankee Papa Echo. Muse
Oh, I'm
approach Airbus
close.
helicopters Delta.
Oh, I'm
Hotel
close.
Yankee Papa Echo 8,000 feet.
I'm so close.
Airbus helicopters
No,
Delta.
pulling
Hotel
up.
Yankee Papa Echo Muse approach altimeter 29.9 to continue as planned.
8,000 will not quite cut the center low spot. You got to raise up to about 81 to 84. I made it over, but I had to tell the um, autopilot. 8,000 didn't make it. FYI. Yeah, I set my clock for my time, and I'm gonna have to reset. That came up a little short. It'll be too dark by the time we get there. I've been timing these flights so that we get in just at dark, but it didn't work out this time. It was getting rather dark. I think about 84 or 85 is 85,000, 8,500 is about right. Looks like to get over these. Not legally though. Gotta add 1,000 feet to that if you be legal.
I'm lucky enough to get more updraft and downdraft over these mountains.
Well, I've just had my first two bands of the night. Two bots came in. Which feed? Wonder what a bot would cost me to have that automatically done for me. I have to ask Joel when I get with him this evening what he had to pay for his bot. Yeah, I'm actually flying the low spots all I can here, and I'm 8,700 right now, just barely getting over them. Staying on the flight plan. Might be able to find a lower spot.
I've been sacrificing speed for climb. I'm up to 91 now.
Yeah, you'll make it for that. Oh, got a prop plane that's joined us up here. See what the name on that is. Oh, he disappeared. Just as I went to look, he disappeared on me. The smoke. Ah, okay. He must have been. He's in a it just says prop. You see him in front of you?
Actually, he popped up behind us.
Oh, he's behind you. He's
He's slewing
slewing.
around.
Yeah, he's slewing. I don't know what kind of a system you're using. I've got Xbox controller, a Thrustmaster, and well, I've got a T-Hodis X, and I've got a Logitech 3D, and the T-Hodis X and the Xbox controller. The Xbox controller has a bug. Every now and again, I'll find my view starts straying, especially when I look behind me or something. When I come back, my view is strayed, like a wandering eye or something. I have to unplug the Xbox controller and plug it back in, so I know it's the Xbox controller causing it. I can't get anybody that says that they have the same problem, so I don't. I know I reproduce the problem all the time in my system, and that was before I had the Logitech 3D.
Hopefully, it's something as simple as a dirty micro switch. I'm running a PC i7-10700
Yeah, that's
and an NVIDIA 3070.
oh, a dream for a 3070. I'm running a 2060 RTX.
This is the first box that I haven't built in the last 25 years.
Me too.
I actually got so hard up for this card. I was actually looking at 3060s because of the pricing,
Yeah, they're really
and I
outrageous,
fell across a package in a local um, electronics store,
right?
and this machine that I bought, um, uh, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk brands, but something spec was absolutely everything I liked except for the brand of RAM. They stuck in cheap RAM,
Hmm.
but the rest of it was like great, and they gave me 32 gigs, so I couldn't say no.
Right.
It was it was like $300 less than my dream build,
Hmm.
so I grabbed it while I could.
Well, I'm about like you. It's the first one I haven't put together myself, and the only reason I went for a pre-build was basically probably the same reason for the graphics card was as much as I could buy the pre-builds for the whole system. I got a Dell G5 5000 with i7 1070 generation 10th generation 16 on the motherboard. And like I say, I'm gonna probably upgrade that as quick as I can. I'm not real familiar with new um, the new specs. So I'm not sure what to look for in a comparable RAM. I may end up having to just go to Dell and say, "Look, I need something that'll work with it," and have them sell me too much or not enough, as usual. Really out of touch in a long time.
Dell is a bit iffy in my book. They've, I've repaired some machines for my friends, and they're all very high proprietary.
Yeah. They tend to give you not enough box, no space to upgrade. They're upgradable, but you would have to put 'em- take the works out and put them in a bigger box to get it to work. This guy is really trying to torment me. He's like,
He just wants to say hi.
well, he's doing a good job of it. The smoke. If I didn't know better, I would say I know who that is. I'm sure I could be wrong. I associated when I first started this world tour. I fell into another gentleman, and I'm going to use that term loosely. And we were doing it on his Discord server. One day he changed the rules, put Donald Trump's picture on the logo instead of the logo he was using, changed the name to Trump, changed his rules, and said, he was all about cannabis, and if you don't like cannabis, you need to just leave the server, and a few other things. And so the smoke would be appropriate if that's him. I and about five other rotor heads, big name in the community, left his server after he cussed him up one side and down the other, called him all kinds of bad names. I sat back and watched and didn't say a word, and he ended up banning me. Oh, he kicked me out 3 times, and I came back in. I didn't say anything. I made no comments. I kept my tongue, and he kicked me out 3 times, and I kept coming back in through the calendar and his links on the calendar, and he finally figured out what I was doing, and he banned me. So I can't get back in now, but that would make a lot of sense that it was him, because he has been banned from the calendar for 1,000 years. But he's allowed back make posts on the Flight Sim community calendar in 3021. That upset him pretty badly.
I can understand that, but then again, people need to make a name for themselves somehow.
He sure did that. In a week's time, he got banned for 1,000 years from Flight Sim community calendar, and he got banned. Come on now. Oh, got banned from the Hype server, uh, and I think Rotor Sim Pilot banned him also. I'm not sure. He tried hard to just make enemies of all of the rotor heads for some reason. It was pretty interesting to watch. I thought he was doing great. Uh, he went from 29 members on his server to 80 in about a month's time. And at this point, I attribute it because a lot of them came and joined my flights and have told me that yes, they were they left his site before all that came down just because they could see it coming. Unfortunately, I didn't really see it coming.
Yeah, I heard a little buzz about one group that had, you know, oh, it's Trump
Yep.
himself.
Yep.
And I was like, I don't think so.
That would be the character. I'm sure.
More power to him now.
Right. One of the rotor heads came in and fired the fired Discord up, and he went to the site and he said, "What is this?" The first thing I open up and I see this. He used a few slanderous words. Said, "I don't. I stay away from that blankety blank redhead." Said, "I don't want to have to look at this every day." That's the site. But the guy had a few choice words for a few of the big name rotor heads. Like I said, I didn't say anything. Kicked back and watched. it was funny, and I don't know if he could tell that I was in the room. I don't think you can really tell that if someone is on your server unless they post or make a problem, and then you can isolate that problem. I didn't say anything. He still kicked me. I'm not familiar with the prop designation, aircraft designation. You have any idea what he's flying?
No.
Well, you turned off just in time. I was right behind you.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to stay behind you, but I overshoot constantly. I got no control over speed.
Well, I'm trying to run about 110. It keeps holding me back.
You're back. I'm actually showing less than 100, and I'm overshooting you. So
Huh.
there's obviously a lot more problems with this game simulation.
Well, it's still young. I think they've catered too much to the game side. When it was Microsoft as the developer, they paid attention to simulation when Asobo took it more towards the Xbox community, they left sight of the gamer. I mean the simmer and catered to the gamer.
I personally believe that they catered to their pocket. They spent a whole lot of time doing terrain updates when they should have been fixing the machine itself.
Right, right.
But that's my personal opinion.
Well, I think they have forgotten the
Going to 127
developer
decimal 3
community,
Airbus helicopters Yankee Papa Echo. Anchor Center Airbus helicopters Delta.
and
Hotel
the
Yankee Papa
developer
Echo
community, the
8200.
community of add-on creators,
Delta. Hotel
is
Yankee
really
Papa
what
Echo 1 Central
makes
Team
the
under
sim
29er
what it
decimal 9
is.
or 2 continue as planned.
I mean, they provide the foundation, but the developers are adding aircraft to the base model and even scenery, updating and creating more accurate scenery where Asobo has not gotten as delicate with many of the airfields, many of the waterways, even add-on developers have picked up the slack and they really improve. And I think Asobo doesn't get that. I don't think they really. If they do, they are purpose. If they realize that, they are purposely hindering the developers, making it harder for the developers to do what they do.
They're walking a tightrope. If they
Yeah,
don't let modders in, they offend a lot of people. And if they do let modders in, do they have to swallow them up and, buy them out? And I would love to run a graph from country to country where they have sales high to low, and does it reflect inversely to where they did all of their terrain updates?
you know that's one of the complaints that I've heard is areas like um, Georgia, not U.S. Talking the country just north of us here, where we're flying now. The terrain, and even this terrain, if you look at it, it's very plain. It's not doesn't really represent what you would even see by satellite, side by side. We've done the comparisons, taken the screenshots, and look at it, and it's really an undeveloped. Um, so take a guy from South Africa that enjoys flying Georgia. And this is a real life scenario. I have a friend that does. He's from South Africa. He lives in Ireland or something. One of the uh, Scandinavian areas. Anyway, he likes to fly Georgia. He likes to fly the mountains of Georgia, and so he'll come out of Tbilisi. And first off, the airport's just untouched. It's basic. It's autogen. It just doesn't look good. And he complains about that, which I can understand. But if you look at the terrain, the population in those areas, and then say, okay, first off, they're third world. Second off, that means they're low budget. Third off, that means how many of the population they got, let's just take a round number, 10,000 in an area, how many of those 10,000 actually are simmers and actually purchased MSFS 2020? Now, if there's only 10 of those 10,000, wouldn't it make more sense to please 5,000 in a area like, say, New York City, that out of 100,000, 5,000 have actually purchased, paid for, and have supported by their dollars per capita? You see what I'm saying? How many people live here? Not many in comparison. So it makes more sense for Microsoft to please those people that are per capita paying more into the sim to make the purchases than it does third world countries that are poor. Most of them aren't going to buy the sim, much less have enough money to buy a computer that could run the sim. So, in the first place, so does it make more sense? I mean, it just makes more business sense for them to upgrade Paris, New York City, uh, LA, areas that per capita more people are buying the product. One of the big things that this version has touted, and I've done it myself in two different homes, landed in my front yard when I lived on the farm. First thing I did when I bought the sim is I flew out of uh, the local area jetport, Darlington Jetport here in South Carolina, and I know exactly what direction the farm is from that airport. I know it's only a couple of miles, and I found my house. I found the house that I used to live in on the farm. I landed in the front yard. What a thrill that was for me. Okay, now if there's 5 people in Darlington County that purchased the sim, doesn't it make more sense for Microsoft to support or to impress by upgrading, by making it as close to real world and be able to land in their front yard those 25 people in this area that purchased them? Or does it make more sense to develop, produce uh, accurate scenery for areas that 2 people have purchased?
Well, they're obviously not developing for, um, excuse my language, podunk towns, or like um, really crippled cities or nations even.
Right,
But what I'm thinking is that Microsoft opened this up. They were swamped by certain countries, and they put that on a graph and said, well, look at this. X number of people have bought from the United States. X number of people have bought from South America. X number of people have bought from Europe. X number of people have bought from Asia. And I have a feeling that Asia was very low. So they were the first area that got an update.
right.
And then they started into Europe because Europe was populated densely but had lower sales, immediate sales, than, say, the United States
Hmm.
or South America. So I think what they're trying to do by with the updates is to coax more people in high density areas to buy by making their updates inverse to their original sales.
Right. And even, I mean, you can see a relativity even if it's just a tourist attraction. People, long to, like myself, I've never been out of the U.S. to speak of, but I'd love to see the Eiffel Tower. Well, if I can sit in my living room at my desk and see an accurate depiction of the Eiffel Tower in photogrammic imagery, I'm tickled.
I agree. And because Europe, especially Paris, got such a great photogrammic update, you can now fly underneath the legs of the Eiffel Tower.
Right.
But New York City, we have the Verrazano Narrow Bridge, which is supposedly the longest suspension bridge for like years, and they still have it set up like a dam.
Yeah, yeah, you can't get under it.
I just found out a couple of days ago that I can go under the Brooklyn and Manhattan bridges, but the rest of the bridges up the East River are still built as dams. They have a black wall underneath
Yep.
the roadway.
Well, you're lucky they have a black wall. You can see that you can't get under it. A lot of them you can fly under one on a river or a waterway. You can get under one and you come up on the next one, and like you say, it, it's a dam. It's blocked off, but you a lot of them you can't even see the wall until you hit it. You don't even know it's there,
Yeah.
and that just,
Um, just to change the subject for a second, do you have an airport marker for LCAO yet?
um, yeah, 42. Yeah,
LTCO.
yeah,
Oh,
yes,
42 miles.
yeah,
Okay.
41.6.
Yeah. Well, I'm still a little bit behind you. Um, my pointer was swinging around in circles, telling me 100 and something miles from an airport that just didn't, wasn't listed in the flight plan until
Hmm.
I set it up for a direct flight to LTCO, and then I finally got the marker when I called for their nearest airports
Hmm.
and logged into their tower.
And that's on the flight plan that I set up.
Yeah.
I'm not having that at all. No. Um, LTCK was behind us, and then we've got LTCI over the water. It's about 80 miles probably to our southeast. But yeah, I've got a marker for LTCO, 42 miles. No, I didn't have that problem at all. And that's the thing, everybody, depending on, I don't know if it's their system or how they've got their scenery allowances. Like I'm running just about everything on high, and since SU5, I've been able to up to ultra on some of them, on some of the settings, but I don't have my graphics turned up as high as I would like to have.
Well, that probably is because of a limit of the 16 gigs you got.
But you're probably running 30. You're probably running ultra on just about everything, aren't you?
Yep. I turned off the silly stuff at the bottom of the list and turned
Right.
what is the motion blur and autofocus, the last four or five
Turn
markers off.
all of them off. Right. That's
But
what I
everything
did.
else, I'm 100% ultra
Hmm.
and 200% LOD.
So I don't know why you would have less ability to uh, focus, the flight plan, on that last way marker. That's interesting. Yours should, if anyone was to lose that, it should have been me between the two of us.
I don't know. It was 100 and something nautical miles when we left the last airport,
Yeah.
so maybe it just popped up at the same time as I started jiggling stuff.
I don't know. Yeah, that's wild. And I backed my time off so that it was almost daylight. Just barely sun started going down, and I'm back to a sundown setting uh, in the landing. Like I said, I've been trying to set them up so that our takeoff is during bright daylight, but our landing would be at least sunset or just after. I fell short on this one. It was getting quite dim 30 minutes or an hour ago.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to, change the
Change
time of day
of
as needed.
yes, yes. Yeah, I hate to have to cheat midstream. What is that peak off to our left?